Good evening, everybody. It is 6:30 and I'm going to 6:31. I'm going to call the meeting of the Village Trustees to order. Matt, can you please read the disclaimer?
Absolutely. This meeting is being recorded. This meeting of the Board of Trustees of the Village of Enosburg Falls is being conducted electronically in order to ensure safety of all attendees and to maintain compliance with Governor Scott's order.
Good job.
Per 681, H681 signed into law on March 30th, 2020, Section 6, there is a temporary suspension of designated physical meeting location requirements of Vermont's open meeting law, VSA Section 312A1. In order to ensure that all attendees can hear clearly, your audio has been muted. When you wish to speak, please raise your hand by submitting a chat request or if you called in by pressing *9. Once acknowledged by the chair, please clearly state your name and then proceed with your question or comment. Please remember that when unmuted, all participants can hear any sounds in your environment. Again, this meeting is being recorded.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. So we'll do roll call. When I say your name, state that you're here. Leonard?
Here.
Jason?
Here.
Cindy?
Here.
Okay, and Heather Moore here. Sam said he'll be joining us later. And I think that's it to get the meeting started, right? Wasn't prepped for starting. Perfect. Item 1 is modifications or changes to the agenda. No modifications or changes? Great. Item 2, public comment. I see that we have some members of the public here today. Welcome. It's nice to see you. Are you here for general viewing purposes, or did anybody have a comment? I don't know what the... Oh, Jennifer, are you trying to...
She's muted.
You're muted. You're still muted, Jennifer. Are you able to...
Okay, there. Now I have the cue. I'm attending the meeting because I'm interested in a particular item on the agenda, if that makes a difference. I think it's on the agenda. I think. Was it my understanding that there was going to be discussion about noise issues on Main Street?
Okay, that is not an item on the discussion, but was there anybody else here? I think.
Okay. Did I get the wrong meeting?
Well, it will probably come up on other business, I'm sure.
Okay.
I wasn't approached by anybody and asked to put something like that on the agenda, so.
Okay. Well, I'll stick around and see if it comes up in discussion. How's that?
Okay.
Okay. How do I unmute myself or mute myself?
There should be a button. Well, you're on an iPhone. Oh, you found it. Okay.
Heather?
Yes.
Heather?
This is David.
Heather, this is David Trihorn.
Hi.
I'm also here. I'm in on this meeting because I thought we were going to discuss the village noise issue also.
Okay. So we have a couple of people. Ellen, is this what you're here for as well? Or are you here for something else? Okay.
No, that was it. But I am also supportive of Shauna and the parade situation as well. So I'm here for multiple things.
Okay. Great. So we do not have an item on the list about, or on the agenda about noise, but if there's public comment, we can take that and see where it goes. Right, that's the way we do this, Rams. I wasn't expecting to moderate today.
I'm not sure where people got the information that this was going to be on the meeting tonight. I'm guessing that maybe it came out of an Enosburg initiative discussion from the people that are attending tonight and asking about it. So I'm wondering if maybe Jim Cameron was planning, if that is the case, whether Jim Cameron was planning on bringing it up as an issue for a future discussion or something under the Enosburg Initiative report. I'm guessing, I don't know.
So yes, it was brought up in an Enosburg initiative meeting. And there was conversation about possibly bringing it up with the trustees. Yep,
It
Matt?
looks as though Shauna was looking for the floor.
Okay, Shauna?
Think if we just table it for, I'm assuming Jim is going to be on with a EI report.
That's correct. That's on the agenda.
I think, Jonathan, that might be the case, that we wanted, there was a discussion in the initiative, and I think we wanted to broach it with the trustees for maybe discussion at a later date. So I think that is maybe where that's coming from. So I think we can save it for something. I don't think Jim's here yet.
No, he's not. That item's closer to the end of the agenda.
Right.
So he may not be here for a few more minutes.
That'd be my guess.
So will we wait for Jim then and see where the conversation goes, or see if it comes up?
It sounds like probably that's what happened. There was some kind of miscommunication or something within the AI group about how that topic was going to come up. So I'd say, why don't we wait and see what comes out of Jim's Enosburg Initiative report, and if he doesn't bring it up and the Board of Trustees would like to take that item up under other business, then that's your pleasure to do so or not.
Okay. So is there any other public comment then?
If you have the time to do this, I would like to explain why I would like to be heard pertaining to the noise issue.
Okay. Go ahead, David.
Okay. So for most of the summer, Sally and myself, we have been working on the Masonic Hall painting. And as you know, the Masonic Hall is right beside the park. And pretty much every afternoon that we have been there, there's a tremendous amount of noise from automobiles that pretty much race along the side of the park and up and down Main Street. So I guess from my point of view, I just want to bring this up because, you know, basically we're doing, as the initiative goes, we're trying to do a lot of improvements in the park. We're trying to interest people in stopping at the park and this sort of thing. And I think when you have the cars, you know, making the noise that they make along there, that is, it's very annoying. It's even annoying to us, and we're just up on the side of the building painting. Basically, the noise is being caused by a few different types of automobiles, and I think people. One that is probably the most annoying is young people driving small cars with exhaust systems that are intended to make a lot of noise. And I don't know why those people believe that everyone wants to hear what they're listening to, but for some reason they do. That's one issue. Another issue is in the last few years, pickup trucks with loud exhaust have become very popular. And not only do they make noise pollution, they also make a lot of air pollution. And there are a lot of them around the center of the village. And then the third one, probably and to a lesser degree, but basically motorcycles, and mainly motorcycles with high revving engine make a lot of noise. So that's been our experience. We've been there for the, you know, the summer period. And I have to say that if I came here looking for a place to live and I witnessed that, I would cross it off my list. Because I certainly would not want to live there and listen to that noise. So I don't know, you know, if it's something that you need, the village needs to take up with the sheriff's department or whatever, it certainly needs to be looked at. I guess that's my 2 cents.
Is it during a certain time of the day? Like you said, it was in the afternoon?
It usually happens in the afternoon, and it's kind of like 2, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock in that time.
Jason, it's all day, and it's not just in the park, because we all have issues where we live too, with the motorcycles and the revved up cars and the tractor trailers that make the house shake. And I got a big house, and it shakes.
Some of that,
Noise,
you know,
so.
some of the stuff that's necessary. Like I know there are a lot of trucks that go through the village, but I also know that they're a big part of the economy here. And I don't think that they go through the village and try to make, you know, more noise than is necessary.
I would just interject that I don't think they're trying to make noise, but I don't think they're trying not to make noise. Again, I know that we put up the sign, you know, asking them not to use Jake brakes, but you know, they are putting their brakes on right down the hill into the main street. So maybe the trucks aren't as loud by the time they hit the park, but they sure are loud putting their brakes on or revving up to get up the big steep hill out of Enosburg here. And, you know, okay, I understand it's a business. I have a business too. And I have guests who, well, when I used to have guests before COVID, sitting on the porch and they can't talk to each other, sitting next to each other on the porch because someone's revving their, you know, jamming their brakes down that hill. And I've made this point before, but that 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, if people are at that 25-mile-an-hour speed limit out by Hannaford's and coming into Enosburg, then I'm not sure if they would actually need to have their brakes pumped all the way down the slope. Yeah. But it is definitely something that my guests have commented on. And again, big house near Main Street. This is a solid building, and we also, when certain combinations go by, you know, the houses, there's a rumble in the house. There's a shaking in the house. So this is a business too, and I realize it's not as big as Blue Seal, but I don't know what the solution is, but it is a problem for me and for the people who are staying here.
You can hear those brakes all the way over here too, coming down your hill.
Yep.
Yeah, I've had my moments of experience too, mostly like with people speeding, it seems like, speeding and then slamming on brakes. The other weekend, I don't know what exactly they were doing on the other side of town, but there was a lot of squealing tires and stuff at 9:45 at night that was going on for a good 20-30 minutes that I could hear across town over listening to television with my windows shut. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of black marks in front of the school, or behind the school.
That was a funeral. That was for the,
okay.
they were having a funeral for Lucas Gleason.
Yeah.
That was their tribute to him, I guess.
Okay. Yeah. I'd heard something like that. I wonder if there's a different way.
It was on Facebook.
Was somebody else trying to talk? Had I heard something?
I got started. I think maybe that ought to be discussed somewhere, because that's probably not a very, very appropriate way to show your respects.
Right. And right now with all the trucks, like most of the farmers now are hauling a lot of corn and haylage. You're getting a lot of truck traffic from St. Pierre and Jarvis right now.
Mhm.
And the state Jake brakes are considered a safety feature, so it's hard to enforce the Jake brake because that is considered by the AOT as a safety feature on a truck, especially when they're loaded.
Can
That was
anybody
a-
tell me if a truck is going 25 miles an hour at Hannaford's, if they would need to put brakes on coming down the
It
hill?
depends how
I don't know.
much it depends how much weight he's got on, for tonnage,
Because some trucks come through and do not. So
Yeah,
it's hard to judge. So
I think it depends
I'm
on a lot of the
talking-
weight. I think it
yeah,
depends
the
a lot
big
on the weight
milk
of the truck.
trucks coming through too.
Yeah,
I mean,
I think a
these
lot
are
depends. I think a lot depends
And-
on the weight they have they're carrying.
okay. All right. So I mean, is there a way to somehow talk to someone about this? To see if there's a way that we can have a conversation in some kind of capacity to. I mean, I'm not like let's just beat up one group, but
Right.
I think it's worthwhile saying that as much as you have a need for safety and we have a need to have
Right.
business,
I don't
the
think
feed business or the farm business, and I'm a big ag person too, but I think that there are two sides to this conversation,
Right.
and I don't think it's enough just to say, well, this is Lucille, and that's how it is.
I don't think enforcement would fine them for using a Jake brake because, as I said,
No,
they told me it's a safety feature and they consider that part of the equipment, so they wouldn't fine anybody for using a Jake brake.
No, I don't know if there's an alternative to a fine for using a Jake brake, though. That's what I'm saying. Is there a conversation that can be had with anybody?
The way I understand it, there's not a fine for using a Jake brake.
Yeah, I get that. I just don't know if there's anything else. Like if, for example, if there was a speeding ticket every time someone's going 26 miles an hour or something.
Well, we're having a lot of speeding issues on a lot of roads, like Water Tower, all of the town. For some reason, during COVID, they all decided there's no speed limit.
Yeah.
I'm going to give the floor to Cindy.
I think maybe
And
we
then
ought
Ellen.
to table this discussion and put it on the agenda for next week and discuss the actions we should take, and maybe we need to bring in or work with the town because I believe they have the contract with the sheriff's office, and maybe the village can help boost the fee for the sheriffs and get another 40 hours a week and tell them we want all speed limits enforced, and then eventually this will all stop, we hope.
And is there any way that somebody who's on this board or within the community can reach out to the people whose businesses are result in that noise, just so that we can find out from their side?
I think it's something
what their
that
side is?
I think we can probably spend some time looking into what potential steps there could be for, like Cindy said, for next meeting.
Yeah.
Knowing that it is
That'd be
a
fine.
community concern. Ellen, was there a comment that you wanted to make?
I just, had seen and heard about St. Albans did that whole big sign thing with like quiet your ride. And I'm not I know from an outside observer, it seemed like maybe it wasn't going to be the most effective, but I would be interested to know if St. Albans felt like there was a net effect of their signage, because they printed like kind of like political campaign signs, but they said quiet your ride, and that was their slogan to try to get people more quiet, to be quieter when driving around.
Do you know who ran that? Who organized it?
I assume that if you contacted Tim Smith, he would know. I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly what it was. I know it was a St. Albans thing, and I know I saw them around like at intersections, but it would be interesting now to see if they felt like it helped, because it was a little while ago that they tried it. And just not to belabor this, but from what I hear in my house, I think that there is certainly people leaving the cheese plant at certain hours, especially later, that have really loud vehicles, and you can hear them all the way as they leave town. So not to like target, but if there was a quiet your ride sign at the cheese plant exit, it would not be ill placed. I don't think that one is a big one, especially at at night.
Thank you, Ellen. John?
Yep.
I'll just make a suggestion. I appreciate everybody, expressing your feelings about this. This is nothing new. This has been discussed many, many times over the years. We all know that there is a traffic problem and a behavioral problem in this county, not just in Enosburg, but in all of Franklin County, regarding the way that people drive vehicles. It is a problem. It absolutely is. And it's discussed all the time in communities across Franklin County. What I would suggest, I think we got the flavor of what people wanted to say here, and we could, probably have a discussion for a couple hours just about everybody's anecdotal stories about, how people's traffic and vehicle behavior annoys them and makes them angry. Makes me angry too. I live in the village as well, and where I live, I can hear traffic going, often into the late hours of the evening, and it is annoying. I understand. Maybe as a suggestion, what we could do is I could contact the Sheriff's Department. This is a law enforcement issue. I could contact the sheriff and ask him when he would be available to attend a future Board of Trustees meeting. And I think that's where, this might get the most production, the most traction, is to allow people to, discuss their feelings and their stories with the sheriff directly, so that, he hears it himself and can feel your pain, if you will, a little bit over this issue. Just a suggestion I would make.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good step. How does
Is that something the board would like me to do, to contact the sheriff and ask him when he'd be available to attend a board meeting?
Yes, definitely.
Yes, I think that would be a good idea. And we can all brainstorm other ideas that might work, like the little signs that flash how fast you're going, or, just so we have some accurate
Yeah, and those things
data.
should be, right, and those things I think should be brought up to the sheriff. The Sheriff's Department does have, the speed limit signs that flash your speed as you're going by it, and he can make those available to us if we ask. But whatever we do, I would think it should be coordinated through law enforcement so that they understand and are supportive of any steps that are being taken.
Yeah, that sounds great, and like a good next step for sure. Yeah, thank you everybody for bringing this up so that we can help the community. We'll see what we do. Is there any more items for public comment, or are you all, was that the issue? Okay.
I don't see any other hands raised at this time, Heather.
Great, thank you, Matt. Item 3, review and approval of minutes from September 8th. Has everybody on the board had a chance to review the minutes?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to approve them.
Okay, motion made by Jason, seconded by Cindy. All approve, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, minutes are approved. Item number 4, Enosburg Business Association Holiday Parade, Linkin Park Holiday Lighting, and the floor is yours, Shauna.
Hi, so we have started meeting regarding Christmas in Enosburg, which obviously is going to look different this year. We won't be able to have Santa, or I think this will be the first year in God knows how long that we haven't had carpenters doing wagon rides. But we do want to continue with the parade, and we do want to light up the park in some way. And we are going to creatively do a gingerbread competition. So specifically, again, like I said, we started meeting, we met today. We're still trying to, I don't have a lot of concrete things for you. I don't have any permit requests for you yet. But we are hoping to change the parade route slightly. Sorry, I'm cooking dinner. Multitasking. So we would like to make the parade route more like June Dairy Day, to kind of spread the parade out a little bit. If people don't feel comfortable congregating all at the park, they can spread out. So I wanted to get, I guess, thoughts and feedback on that. We would, of course, need to work closely with the Lions, again, who have been very supportive. I know that they've already, Dave Stetson told me they've already started discussing how they could help us this year with lights and things like that. So I know we have their support. And then, of course, working with the sheriff on traffic control and things like that. So I wanted to get your feedback on that. And then secondly, Friday, I don't know if Dave is still on. Dave Trihorn and Sally and Ray and Sandy Ferlin are taking a field trip to South Royalton to look at a couple of structures that we are hoping we might be able to replicate in the park. That's kind of all I can tell you at the moment, but it potentially, if we can pull it together and fabricate it and get approval and so on and so forth, would be like tunnel-like structures leading up to the center fountain sidewalk, and then like a lights in the fountain. So it would kind of be walking under a bridge of lights to where the fountain is, and then maybe lighting some other trees around. So we've used the same lights for a couple of years now. Last year we didn't request any of the funding that is in the line item for lights for the park. So this year for sure we will be wanting to access that. And so one of my questions was, what do we need to do? Do we need to, you know, get obviously some kind of specific approval? Do we need to present like a quote of stuff to you? What's the process for doing that? I think the last time we did it, you basically said there's $1,000 in the line item. The EBA purchased them and we submitted receipts for reimbursement. I don't know how you want to proceed, but I would like to ask permission to be able to utilize that this year. And I think that there's just 1,000. I don't think it was added to because we didn't utilize it last year. So that's kind of my update and request at this time. So I'm looking for feedback and thoughts.
It sounds pretty.
I think it's a good idea that the parade expands its parameters. There's nobody walking, right? Everybody's in vehicles.
I mean, there are some walking units sometimes, or people walking along their floats, but it's not like it's an ungodly long distance. You know, June Dairy Day, people walk all the time. So I don't think that would faze people.
Well, I was thinking you could expand it even more. That way people can just like come out of their houses basically instead of just.
I think we would want to stick to if we were going to expand it, to the June Dairy Day route, just because it is an established route. The Lions know how to manage that.
Right.
If you say it's the June Dairy Day route, people understand.
Right.
What it is and where to be. There's a familiarity with it.
Okay. I'm okay with that. We got to have something this year.
Yeah. John?
I've got a question. If I heard you correctly, Shauna, you were asking for an expenditure. You want to buy new lights. And you referenced a previous year in which you said that EBA didn't spend money that you thought you were going to. And I guess did I hear that right? Or did I misunderstand something?
So last year we did not utilize any of the money that was in that line item. And I think it just stayed flat when you did your budget. The year before is the year that we purchased lights with that line item.
Matt, you don't by any chance recall what the fund balance is in there is, do you?
Do I have that information? There was an appropriation this year of $500, and that is on top of an existing held over reserve from previous appropriations of $2,772. So there's $3,200 available in the Christmas lighting appropriation fund at this point.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that if you were planning on spending money you hadn't previously, that there was still an amount in there that was, you know, approximately what you were thinking. So just for clarity, Shauna, how much money were you planning on spending on the lights?
Again, I think what we need to do is, and that's why I said this was really just me kind of giving you an update where we're at. They're going, Sandy, the four of them are going to look at this structure, and then David Trihorn will come up with how we might fabricate it and what we would need. And then based on that, we would have an idea. The EBA also has money in our funds set aside for the park and lights and things like that. So then we would have an idea better what we would need. So I would come back to you. I just remembered that at town meeting, there was a specific line item, not for lights that go along the street, but for lights specifically for the park that we had voted on at town meeting. So I just was hoping that we would be able to utilize that this year to some degree. I don't have all the info yet.
Okay.
So do we vote on that now, or I'm asking John and Matt, or do we allow Shauna to come back with an exact number? I don't know what the step is there.
Well, I don't think she's actually asked for anything right now. She's only, and correct me if I'm wrong, Shauna,
Right.
but I don't think you've actually asked for anything that the board would need to take action on. You're just sort of outlining a general plan right now, informing the board of what your intentions are. Is that correct?
Right. I will at some point come back and I guess specifically ask for an amount. I just was hoping that the board would be on board with us being able to utilize those funds this year.
Right, just looking for a temperature check, sort of, right?
Right. We've reused the same lights for 2 years, so trying to, you know, get the most use out of them that we can, but we're gonna have to definitely, and if we are able to do these new structures, which the next time we come, we'll have pictures and everything to show you. It really would be quite something if we can pull this off, so.
Awesome. And are you planning on having those, like there were electricity boxes or something that you had
Yeah,
last
so
year?
those are the Lions. The Lions own those and they donated them so that we could, so yes, I would assume that those would we may need them all, we may not need all of them this year, depending on what we do decide to do for lighting. But yeah, we would utilize those again, I'm assuming. Because what those are, Heather, are winterized boxes. There's ports all over the park that the Lions have power established. And the boxes that they use for June Dairy Day aren't winterized. So these kind of provided some protection and had, you know, ground fault protection, all that stuff. So they were more, and then we weren't just powering off the 2 poles at the end of the park, which is essentially what we were doing previously.
Okay. Yeah, seemed like a nice addition. Good.
So as long as I'm working with the appropriate people, are there any objections to us kind of increasing the path of the parade?
I can't think of a problem.
It sounds good.
Yeah.
Now, wasn't it last Christmas? It was so cold that it was supposed to be extended to go way up to like the Catholic Church and back to the elementary.
No, we've always had it just around, basically Missisquoi Street ended. That was kind of the end of the parade, and floats could park around the park. So we haven't actually had any weather that has changed the path of how things are supposed to be yet. Although we're not even going to go there.
Okay.
We're not even going to talk about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, is the board agreeable to have Shauna come back with some more updates?
Absolutely.
Yeah, everything
Awesome.
she brought up sounds good to me.
So when is your next meeting? 2 weeks?
Yeah, so the next meeting would be October 13th.
Okay. Can I ask to be put on the agenda now?
Yep.
Formally? Okay. So without, I don't have to send you an email? This will, or do I still need, okay, perfect.
No, I would just,
saving me a step.
right,
I have your
no,
ear.
I would just say, the same thing I tell anybody who asks to be on the agenda, that if you can remember that, that if there's anything you wanted included in the board's packet so that they can review that prior to the meeting, to please have that to me by noon, the Friday before the meeting.
Okay. I will have pictures.
Yeah.
Which, since we're all electronic, if I email you color pictures, you could email them, like they could view them that way. Okay. Jonathan, I can't remember, do I have the floor for that second item that I had emailed you about with I know you had said that it's really a state.
The park and ride?
Yeah, but I just had a couple.
I didn't put it on. I didn't hear a response from you when I told you what my take on it was. So I didn't put that on the agenda, but.
Can I just ask one thing?
Yeah, sure.
So,
if the board's okay with it.
I'm okay with it. Yeah.
Okay.
First the board. Okay.
So,
go ahead, Shauna.
I know the park and ride is technically not village property. I'm not sure if it falls within the village limits or the designated village center. I probably should know that, but I don't. But the other day when we were doing the cleanup, picking up cigarette butts and things like that, I was assigned to that location. And I realized that there is just garbage everywhere because there's no trash cans at all. Like there's the, like the little bus stop thing, shelter, but there's no trash cans. So I didn't know if maybe, even though it's state property and not village property, if there was a way to put some kind of receptacle there. Of course, that would probably mean that then that'd be one more. I mean, I'm just throwing that out there. There's just a lot of garbage. Maybe that would help. Maybe it wouldn't help. I don't know.
Right. So just, for full disclosure, and so the Board of Trustees can hear what I said to Shauna when she asked me the question about, and I think you asked a couple other questions about, who owns the park and ride, and is it in the village boundaries, which you mentioned. So the answer to those are the park and ride is in the village boundaries. It is not within the designated village downtown center, but it is in the village boundaries of the village of Enosburg Falls. It is owned by the state of Vermont. It is a agency of transportation property. So VTrans for short is what they go by. And VTrans is responsible for operating and maintaining the park and ride. So, it's a few obstacles there. First of all, it doesn't belong to the village. It belongs to the state government. So we couldn't just go in there and, start putting in infrastructure. It doesn't belong to us. There's also a question about whether, the village should be doing that, given that it's a state-owned property. Does the village, should the village be paying taxpayer money to put the infrastructure in? that then leads to another question about, okay, well, even if we did put it in, who's going to empty it? If VTrans isn't agreeing to put the trash cans in, they're probably not going to agree to empty them and clean up the park either. So does that then make the village of Enosburg Falls completely responsible for maintaining yet another state property within our community? And, you know, some people may have an issue with that. And what I had suggested to Shauna was that maybe this would be a good topic to talk with Felicia Leffler about, our representative in this district to the House of Representatives in the state legislature. So I don't know, that's, I'm just letting the board know and the public know that was kind of what I said back to Shauna in my response when she asked about those questions. So take it for what it is, but you know, those are some things to think about.
So I have no problem like approaching Felicia, but I'm wondering, like, since it is village property, does it hold any weight for like the trustees to maybe draft a letter or something that says, you know, concerns have been brought to them? You know what I mean? Like, is there any way for the board of trustees to kind of not throw their weight around, but to say, hey, this is an issue brought to us because it's in the village, you know, I don't know, just another voice, I guess, to Felicia or to whoever.
Or is there a contact at VTrans that we could just bring that to their attention?
Yes, I'm sure there's a contact at VTrans. I don't know who it would be. We'd have to make some phone calls to find out who the right person is that's responsible for that facility. I don't know off the top of my head who it is, but it could be determined who the right person was.
Cindy?
I will email Felicia between now and the next meeting and see what I get for a response from her, and maybe just forward that on to Jonathan so you're aware what the response is that I get.
Okay, that sounds reasonable. Cindy?
Okay, where is there a park and ride?
By the Armory.
Okay, well,
Yes,
that's
from
where I
Dollar
was
General.
assuming, but I didn't know that for sure. So
Yeah.
we've had issues with the Armory and the state land and trying to get the lawn mowed, for goodness sakes. But being that it is in the village boundaries, we got all those trash cans that you put out each summer. Is there any way we can just put one set over there?
Cindy, I think like
Well-
what John is saying is that VTrans is responsible for that space, and it might make sense to start with them first to see what they're able to do before we would take on something more for us.
Yeah.
Right,
and we
I
don't-
understand that, but
and
we
don't
already
own
have.
it, and we don't own it, so we can't just go. It's no different than if, the village were to go to your property and my property and, put something in there, a bench or a trash can. It's someone else's property. We don't have the right to just go onto their property and say, hey, we're going to put this here and deal with it. We would, if the board decided that, we would have to formally go to the state and ask permission to put something on their property. And then we would have to have the discussion about, okay, well, so we put this here, now who's going to take care of it? Who's going to manage the trash that's being put in the trash can now? Is the state going to do that for us? Or is the state going to turn around and say, well, it's your trash can, you empty it, we're not going to do that. And that's, it's a discussion that would have to happen.
Okay, I understand that, but there's still a sidewalk that goes by there too, right? Is that village owned or is that state owned?
I don't
Just on
think
the
there
other
is
side of the street.
I don't think there is a sidewalk that goes there, Cindy. There's a sidewalk on the opposite side of Pearl Street, but there's not a sidewalk that goes in front of the park and ride.
Okay.
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
going
and
to say, we already have the trash cans that we already take care of. So I was just wondering
Right.
if we could just move them that direction as opposed to downtown. But okay.
No, that's an interesting point, but I wonder like what kind of conversation it could spark on a larger level of state-owned park and rides of, do you have trash cans in other park and rides? Because I'm sure the other communities have the same problem. Yeah. So Shauna will check in with us in 2 weeks or send an email when, okay, when you receive something from Felicia, and we'll see where it goes. It sounds like everybody's in agreement that we want it to be cleaned up. So we'll see what the next steps are.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for bringing it up. So item number 5, Depot Street paving and drainage issue.
Yeah, so we've, I can start the discussion here, and Gary, feel free to jump in. You'll find in your packets a memo from Gary Denton, our Director of Public Works. We are asking the board, we being the village staff, are asking the board permission to do kind of like a fill-in of a certain section of Depot Street, which is out in front of where the American Legion building is. There's an area there kind of right in front of the Legion that over time has sort of sunken in, and there's an indentation there. It becomes a problem when we get heavy rains, and also in the wintertime. We tend to get some pretty significant ice buildup in this indented part of Depot Street there. So as it turns out, we're doing really well with the general fund this year for a few different reasons, most of which are related to COVID-19. We just haven't had some of the expenditures that we typically do as a result of this pandemic, but we also saw some cost savings in the springtime because if folks remember, we actually had a pretty early spring this year compared to some past winters that we've had, and we were able to save some money on labor because we didn't have as much snow plowing as we typically do through the months of March and April. So those things kind of combine. It looks like we are going to have some funds available in the general fund, and had Gary get an estimate from ECI. Did Gary take off?
No,
Gary's
I'm
with
back
it.
on the phone. I'm on the phone.
Oh, okay. You're still with us?
Yeah, you hear me?
Yes.
I can hear you. Okay.
Yeah, I'm on the phone. I lost contact connection on my computer. So yes, I hear you.
Okay. So Gary got an estimate from ECI. They are the pavers that won the bid award to do the other 4 paving projects in Enosburg Falls this year. So they're going to be here in the community doing 4 other paving projects anyway. And, you know, needless to say, there's certainly efficiencies and cost savings there when you've got a paver that's already in your community ready to go with all of their equipment. So they did an estimate for Gary based on the area that he mapped out for them, an area of about 34 feet by 100 feet long. Their estimate came in at $6,950, as you'll see in Gary's memo. So the staff is asking the board to please consider this, and also if this seems agreeable to the board, to have you waive the village's procurement policy and enter into a contract with ECI to do this work. Recall, under the village's procurement policy, anything over $5,000, staff is supposed to get either 3 quotes from contractors or go out to a public bid process. We strongly believe because of the special circumstances with ECI already being in the community at this time, already having their equipment here and doing 4 other paving projects, and the time frame that we would have to work under at this point, getting the additional quotes or certainly going out to a public bid are not really options that will work, or nor would they probably get us any stronger bids than what ECI has submitted. So staff does not have the authority to waive the procurement policy, but the village trustees can if you choose to. So Gary, do you have anything else you would like to add on this?
That area has been a problem in front of the Legion. There is the road is lower than the catch basins on the edge of the road. So doing this will help get that water puddle that's in front of the Legion out of there, and it'll go toward the catch basin. Right now the road's probably 1.5 inches, 2 inches lower in the middle than it is at the edge of the catch basin. So, and I know we're planning hopefully next year to pave, if the trustees approve it, we'd like to pave Depot Street next year, and that would be a little less money because we've already done the shimming and stuff. So that area is low. As a matter of fact, the whole street has a low spot in the middle due to all the wear and tear. That's why I did that, because it would help. We have a lot of problem in the winter time with ice and slush, and we spent a lot of salt and a lot of sand in that area. If we do that, that will kind of help us there. I think with this shimming and raising that 100 feet, it'll get the water to the catch basins, and we won't have that water problem anymore.
If I could add something for clarification.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
In the 2020 budget that was reviewed and approved by the trustees and approved by voters, there was an $8,000 line item for pavement repair work. So what we're looking at is utilizing that line item for this project, and would leave about $1,100 left for other emergency repairs between now and the end of the year.
Okay. Thank you, Matt. So what do the others think?
Definitely makes sense. Definitely needs some work there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, it does. It makes a lot of sense.
Another problem area with the speeders and got to hit the water to spray all the kids as we're walking by. And yeah, it's definitely an issue right there.
Yeah, I've actually seen that recently,
Mm-hmm.
intentionally going through those puddles.
Yep.
Yeah, the water will, once the water gets high enough, it goes to the catch basin, but it takes about 1.5 inches, 2 inches of water to get it to the catch basin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this takes a formal vote, right? So is there a motion?
I motion to approve that.
I'll second.
Okay. A motion made by Cindy, seconded by Jason. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed say nay. Okay. It's approved. Please do that work.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Item number 6, planned electric outage on September 26, 2020.
So hopefully everybody has gotten a notice in your electric bill at this point, letting everybody know that we have a planned scheduled power outage for the 26th of this month, which is Saturday. Just wanted to make sure that, I brought this up, given we have a chance to discuss it at a board meeting. And if people have any other questions about it, to help answer that. But unfortunately, our transmission provider, which is Vermont Electric Co-op, has informed us that they have detected damaged insulators on the lines that feed our switching station. The switching station is the station that supplies all of our outside power sources into our service territory. If you don't know where that is, it's the big substation at the end of Birch Lane. So there's really no safe way for Vermont Electric Co-op to do this repair work other than to shut down power to the switching station, which means our entire service territory will be out of power. But, you know, fortunately, the good news here is we've had enough warning that, you know, we could sit down and plan it and talk with Vermont Electric Co-op about it and figure out a way that this can be done with the least amount of disruption to our customers in our service territory. So we chose, it'll be a Saturday night, the 26th. It'll start at 11 p.m. and it's estimated to take approximately 4 hours for VEC to do this work. So hopefully, if everything goes well, the power will be back on by 3 a.m. Sunday morning, that morning of the 27th. So, you know, just wanted to bring this up in case for some reason, you know, somebody hadn't seen this warning, or, you know, you threw it out accidentally when you got your power bill, and, you know, let people know. We've posted it in other locations as well. It's also on our website, and I think we posted it on Facebook as well.
Mhm.
So we're trying to get the word out to everybody, as well as, you know, sending it as a stuffer in our electric bills. So, you know, just wanted, again, formally to get the word out to everybody and let you know that this was going to take place. So, you know, just be prepared for it. If there's something you need to do to, you know, get yourself ready, if you got to get up, you know, early on Sunday or something, maybe set a manual alarm clock or something, because if you've got an electric alarm clock, your power will go out and then your clock will be wrong. So just think about those sorts of things. And that's it.
Yeah, thank you, John. Yeah, I saw it on Facebook, and friends of mine who don't live in the community, they're like, "Hey, did you know your power is going to be out at a certain time?" So it's reaching people. So that's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great. Any questions on that from the board? We're good. Okay. Item number 7, the Enosburg Initiative report. I think Jim's here. I see his name on the screen.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Jim. Do you have a report for us, Jim?
Heather, you can hear me. Can others hear me?
Can others hear Jim?
Yeah, I can
I'm
hear
sorry,
you.
I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Okay. First thing is I'm going to be building the new St. Albans police station, and I've already designated one of the wings for the Enosburg traffic violation people. I might not get, okay, I can get through. There's a lag here. Okay. I really need to get back to these in-person meetings so I can feel the crowd. It's really hard to work with a crowd over Zoom, you know?
And ours is, especially if you have a little lag. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Price I pay. Almost all little things with a few questions. With the taskmaster of Ellen Stanley, the fences have been repainted or painted along the rail trail on both sides. And we saw the bench, which is great. The kiosk is great. The trash cans are great, all there in that area of town. And then the spitefulness of me comes out to ask this question to John. When we tried to put this parklet in, we got pushed back from the notch, and the issue was who owns what, and that wasn't going to be pursued, but then it was. Did it ever get pursued? Did the state ever figure out who owns that property?
No, to my knowledge, no. I did follow up with Ludwig Pulaski. I don't know if you remember Ludwig. He was the employee of VTrans that we were working with on that project. He works within the railroad division, and he's in charge of managing the Missisquoi Valley Rail Trail from the state's perspective. I did follow up with him, probably close to a year ago now, to ask him if he had any luck figuring out, you know, where those boundary lines were between the health center and the property that the state owns as part of the Missisquoi Valley Rail Trail. He told me they were still looking into it, but I haven't followed up with him since then about that particular issue.
Okay. Gary, I think you're still there on the phone.
Yep.
Gary was
me?
really helpful this week in trying to, yes, I can, thanks. Gary was helpful this week in trying to diagnose the problem with the existing light fixture that's supposed to shine on the Doughboy or that general area. And then I heard that Gary reported that one technical effort didn't work, but then I heard subsequently from Sandy that the light was on. So can you confirm that that finally got addressed or resolved, Gary?
I don't know that. I know what they were going to do. I don't know if they've done it or not, but they're going to make one eye for both the street light and the Doughboy, so that one eye will work for both lights, so they'll both work. I don't know if they've done it. They've been on a couple outages, so I haven't heard if they had done it or not. I know they're planning on doing it, but they're going to put one eye for both lights, so they both work together. I do not know if it's been done yet or not, but I know if it has been done, I can find out. I haven't. They've been on a couple outages this week, and they've been busy doing some installs for some customers.
Yep. Yeah.
But
No,
I'll
I was really just going to wrap it around just because I think I think I was looking at a note here that Sandy said that they were on. So anyway, that'd been just a small thing that people were trying to resolve. And so, Gary, sincerely, thanks for taking care of that this week. I appreciate you being on it. I really do. It's one of those things that can just keep going on, you know, so jumping in to take care of it's very helpful to people.
Yeah, I'll check on it, see if they've done it or not.
It really,
I don't think they did it yet, but I'll confirm with you once I find out. I'll ask them tomorrow.
Yep. Thanks very much.
Yep.
Couple other feel-good things. We're going to be having a potluck this Thursday, 2 nights from now, at the Opera House because of the physical space so big. Unknown how many will show up, but it's meant to be a fall rollout for EI, try to get people energized, get people back in the room. We've been at this a while, and we're losing participation. And so part of this is to try to get people back in the room, to get them to recommit or to find out what our problems are so that we can continue to move ahead with the kinds of things that we've done in the past. And so that's happening at 5:30. Everyone's welcome. Community potluck. It's for anybody who might like to come. But just to be very clear.
So, Jim, is there a Zoom portion to that? Jim?
You know, there hasn't been, but we can set it up.
Okay, thanks. I can follow up with you.
Sean can bring. I'll ask Sean to set it up tomorrow, and he can bring that microphones, camera thing that he has, which works great for audio.
Thanks.
Yep. On Friday and Saturday, weather permitting, what's the weather this week? Weather permitting Friday and Saturday, I and we are helping the rec committee put up a terribly named recreational thing called a Gaga pit. And so I made calls for lumber today. Sean is going to help me on Friday afternoon to do the prep so that when people get there Saturday, we can get it done. Scott Goodhue doesn't know it yet, but he's going to donate a load of sand for the base of that. And while that's on town property and all been permitted, if you go there, there's a stake on the ground if it matters to you next to what I believe is the basketball court or some surface there, which is right close to the road, relatively speaking. There's a lot of land there, but anyway, it's going down there. There's a small service road that takes you down to it. So weather permitting, we're going to do that Saturday and Sunday. It shouldn't take very long to get it done. Yeah, that's happening. That's something to get done. Park light. One more question, following up and driving you all crazy on some level, certainly Matt. Do we have a date certain for the rollout for the engineer in regards to designing the 3 sites downtown?
I received an email today from the consultant who's managing the project with a proposed community engagement plan and the desire to establish a local concerns meeting for the public the 1st or 2nd week of November before Thanksgiving is the goal. No specific date has been set.
Okay. Actually, no, I won't take up that moment. So then really for me, the only thing I wanted to, another thing that I wanted to comment about, and I believe that's all I want for time tonight, is I'm not sure David Trihorn's still on the screen. We had 10, 12, either live or Zoom at our last planning meeting. And anecdotally, but they're the statisticians, Dave and Sally, the portalette is a really big asset to the park. It gets a lot of use from tourists. I've driven by 2 or 3 times, and there's motorcycles parked there, there's bicyclists parked there. When we were painting the fence, people from Underhill were on the bike path and beeline down to the park when they heard that there was a bathroom down there that they could use, and made the prophetic comment that this is, that quote unquote, this is what we need as recreation people in your town. Mm-hmm. First time they'd ever been to Enosburg. And so to see people and to see, you know, nice stuff happening. I know that's feel good, but it's more than, actually it's feel good, but it's more than feel good, because things around the park, like the improvement around the Doughboy, the holiday lights, all the stuff that happens in the park, and the Masonic Temple looks so great. The paint and the windows, just that whole area of town feels good. But the portalettes, again, Dave and Sally can give you a count, but that small effort means a lot to people who are coming through your community. So I think that's all I have, unless anyone has questions if I've forgotten about something that's going on. I checked with Ellen a second ago, and unfortunately, we've been waiting for signs for the rail trail for God's awful amount of time. And that'll also help spruce up where the bench is, where the fence is. The whole area has got a whole new signage package. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. It's good to get the feedback on the portalette, the new addition.
Yeah. We can give you numbers on residents and non-residents there.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we had one issue last week. Someone tipped it over.
Then we had tall people and short people. So if you want numbers, let us know.
Was that a joke about it being tipped over?
No, they tipped it over last weekend. We had to put it back on it.
Oh, okay. That's too bad. Yeah, hopefully it doesn't happen again. Yeah. But thanks for putting it back up. Unless there's questions for Jim, it's item number 8. Thank you, Jim. So we're on to manager's report.
Thank you, Heather. First, just wanted to bring up kind of an interesting thing related to COVID-19 and Vermont's efforts in the state trying to combat this pandemic. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's head infectious disease expert, virtually attended a meeting with Vermont Governor Phil Scott and Vermont Health Commissioner Dr. Mark Levine on September 15th. That was last Tuesday, I believe, in reference to the efforts being made by Vermont businesses, governments, and residents to combat COVID-19. And during that meeting, Dr. Fauci was quoted as saying, "I believe strongly that if we do what you've been doing in Vermont, in the rest of the country, that we can not only get through the fall and the winter, but we can come out on the other end better off than when we went in." So I felt like, you know, that those are some really nice words of encouragement from the leading, you know, head infectious disease expert in the country at this point. I think that was a hats off from Dr. Fauci to the state of Vermont. Hope I'm not mispronouncing his name. I've heard it pronounced different ways, and I've never been totally sure how it's the correct pronunciation is.
Yeah.
But he's been all over the news. I'm sure you guys know who I'm talking about. So anyway, I thought that was some really encouraging news and sort of a, you know, a pat on the back to Vermonters for, you know, trying to do this in a sensible, responsible way rather than trying to turn it into a political circus. So just thought I'd bring that to you guys' attention. We had a nice compliment as a state. Next, wanted to let you know, if you hadn't noticed yet, that the new bench along the rail trail has been put up. Remember, this bench was donated to the village of Enosburg Falls by Franklin County Industrial Development Corporation last September. So it's got a nice little dedication on the back of the bench as well to the rail trail from FCIDC. So in addition to the bench, we also installed a new trash can and recycling receptacle at that same location. So our thanks again to FCIDC for donating the bench, and I did contact Tim Smith to let him know when we had put that up. So if you hadn't seen it yet, go up and take a look. I think it looks pretty good. And as I had mentioned before, we've set that bench in a way that it can be removed. It's held on by bolts that are on a concrete pad. So in the wintertime, you know, once the snow starts falling, we'll unscrew the bench, remove it, and put it in storage in the public works garage to, you know, just to keep wear and tear down on the bench as much as possible, and then reinstall it again in the spring. So it's got that feature in there. You know, it's a nice bench. We want to keep it and preserve it for as long as we're able to. So just wanted to let you guys know that about the bench as well. When the snow starts flying, we'll remove it, put it in storage, and then put it back up again in the springtime.
I noticed it within the past week. It looks really nice. Thank you for putting it up.
Yeah. And this is just, it's a point of information. I told this caller that I would at least let you guys know what her thoughts were. So I'm fulfilling that obligation to her. So I got a phone call from a woman named Barbara Parody. I'm not sure about the spelling. The spelling could be off in there. She said she was a resident of the town of Enosburg, and she called to let me know that she believes that there should be a full service 24/7 hospital with an emergency room in the village. Called to express that concern to me. I did remind her that there are 2 health facilities that are located in the village, and one of them can provide nearly all services that don't require an overnight stay. I also suggested to her that, you know, maybe she wants to have a discussion with the Enosburg Health Center to see whether they believe that's, you know, a possibility, a real possibility to do a full-scale hospital as opposed to a health center. But at the conclusion of our conversation, she, you know, she requested and insisted really that I tell you guys, the Board of Trustees, about her concerns. So I'm telling you to fulfill my obligation on that. So I said, okay, I will pass your concerns on to the board.
She wanted a full hospital, not like just an urgent care, something in case,
No, she wants like a full, she wants like NMC here in Enosburg. She wants a full scale hospital, 24/7 service with an emergency room and yeah, so.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I can definitely see where she might be coming from, just in some of the work that I do, because of transportation is a huge barrier, but also listening to the press conference today and them talking about NMC, I have no idea where funding for such an endeavor would come from. But
it's a tall order.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know that there's organizations working on supporting transportation so people can get to appointments in St. Albans. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, as I said, I told her I would pass those concerns on to you. She was pretty insistent that I do that. So I'm just bringing this up to let you know it's a concern that she has.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah. Also, another heads up here to you guys. Want to let you know that at your next board meeting, October 13th, I intend to have on the agenda a discussion regarding any potential projects or any kind of mandates or guidance that the Board of Trustees would like to give staff regarding the draft 2021 budget. So next month, staff will begin working on getting your preliminary budget together. We'll start looking at different projects and internal direction that we've had, through the course of the year, both from the board and, things that have come up from department heads, et cetera. And we'll start crunching some of those numbers. You won't receive the preliminary budget until the end of December, but staff starts working on that preliminary draft in October. So we're working on that budget for about 2.5 months approximately before you guys ever even see your first draft on the budget. So just a heads up here, your next meeting, I'll have that as an agenda item. So, you got a couple of weeks to think about different projects or guidance or mandates that, you're thinking about in regards to next year's budget. So just letting you know. Next, wanted to let you guys know that Dave Westcomb, who's our lead line technician, he's the department head for the electric department, is taking the week of the 21st off. That's this week. As the board knows, we're a bit short-staffed right now in the electric department, but we were fortunately able to work out an agreement with Swanton Village Electric Department. Our two electric departments work very closely with each other. We're the only two municipally owned electric utilities in Franklin County. So we're very close. Our electric departments are very close. We do all of our safety trainings together. Actually, many of the linemen in Swanton came from Enosburg first. Many of the fellows that they have worked for the Village of Enosburg Falls Electric Department before going to Swanton Electric. So they've got a number of folks there that are very familiar with our service territory. And the person that they agreed to help us and fill in for Dave is just one of those folks. His name is Jody Benoit. He was a lineman for us for about 10 years, maybe a little more, before going to Swanton Village. And Jody has agreed to come down here and fill in for Dave Westcomb while Dave is taking vacation this week. So just in case you saw Jody out and around the area or climbing poles or something and wondered why he's up there or who he was, that's Jody Benoit, and he's from Swanton Electric, helping us this week while Dave Westcomb is out on vacation. So I just thought I would point that out to you guys. And then one last thing, this came up late Friday afternoon, so didn't receive this in time to put it into the written manager's report, but I thought it'd be interesting, something you guys might want to know. We did receive word from the state that the ELGER grant, as it's referred to, this is the local government reimbursement grant for COVID-19 related expenses. We applied for a few weeks ago, has been approved. So that's good news. It can fluctuate a little bit, and my understanding is we still have the ability to put some expenses in to that grant. I think Matt might remember better than I think the maximum amount on the short version of the grant was $3,500. Do you remember, Matt?
$3,200, and
32.
we have until December 15th to make those expenditures and submit them for reimbursement.
Yeah. So, but we did receive word Friday afternoon that we did receive that grant. So it's for up to $3,200. So piece of good news there. I think that's great. And to give credit where it's due, that was something that Sean Kayo, the development director for the town of Enosburg, had put together for us. So thanks to Sean on that.
Yeah, wonderful. That is
Yeah.
good news.
Yeah, and that's it for manager's report.
Great. Thank you, John. Item 9, other business. Is there any other business? Oh, John, yes.
Yeah. We do have one other thing. Again, this came up late Friday. Didn't get it into the agenda as a result of that, but I think this is important, and I think you guys would want to know about this opportunity. So talked with Gary about it, and we decided to bring this up under other business, given that it didn't actually make it onto the agenda. And this has to do again with paving, but we've got an opportunity to perhaps do a bit more of Pleasant Street than we had expected to originally at the beginning of this year. The bids came in much lower than we had expected to, and as a result, we do have some extra money in that bond vote that was taken in March. Now, we can't use that money on, another street or another type of project. We can only use that money on one of the 4 streets that were specifically voted on as part of that bond vote. So it has to be, Orchard, Center, Champlain, or Pleasant Street. But the other 3 streets are all being completely done. So there's not going to be anything more to do on those, which leaves Pleasant Street then up for consideration. So Gary had gotten some estimates again from ECI, who's going to be doing the paving on Pleasant Street anyway. And Gary, if you could fill the board in a little bit on what you were able to garner from ECI and the bid estimate that they gave you in order to do a bit more of Pleasant Street than we were anticipating.
Yes, I contacted ECI. So original contract was to pave between Railroad Street and Depot on Pleasant Street. With the extra money, we can go from the intersection of Pleasant and Missisquoi all the way up to about 150 feet beyond Champlain Street, which would put you just beyond East Street. Plus, we're going to do a little bit of the apron on East Street for that money. That would be milling and an 1.5 inch overlay, which is a lot more than I thought we would get for that money.
Sounds good to me. Do as much as you can with what we have.
That was my take. No, I was surprised it went that far.
Yeah, nice.
Right. So the sum that they quoted us on Friday was for $45,000. So that's what ECI would charge to do that additional amount beyond the original scope of work on Pleasant Street. So just to be clear with the board.
And if I'm not correct, Matt, that's a little bit less than what we had left over, right, Matt?
That would leave about $9,600 of the original bond issue, $252,000 as a contingency.
Okay.
Great. Still got money
Nice.
left over.
Yeah.
Bargain shopping.
Yeah. Does this require the board to vote?
Yeah, so I would consider this as a change order to the project. So we could do this as change order number 1. It's part of a project that we already put out to bid and awarded to a contractor, but we're altering the scope of work of that project to include more of this street. So I would consider that a change order. And yeah, we would need an approval from the board to do, we could call it change order number 1 to the 2020 road paving projects in the amount of $45,000 to cover additional paving on Pleasant Street.
Okay. Gary?
Oh, no, I just want to give you a heads up. I believe Eastside will be starting next week, paving Champlain Street and Center Street. And I think the following week, they're going to start doing milling and starting working on Orchard and on that street. And
Right on.
And Pleasant.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve this change order?
I make the motion, we approve it.
Okay, motion made by Leonard,
I'll second that.
seconded by Cindy. All in favor say aye.
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 Those approved say nay. Okay. Yeah, we'll do it. That's great.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I wanted to bring something up in other business that I noticed, I think it was today. I got an email, speaking of Sean, there's, oh goodness, I don't have it right up in front of me, but there's like an Enosburg Falls downtown money thing. Did
Big
anybody
bucks.
else? see that?
Yes.
Yeah, like it's $510 is our cards for spending downtown. Does anybody
And I believe
else?
there's 14 businesses already on board
Yeah.
with that. I'm not sure what the scope is on that. Just that the little Enosburg Bucks or something like that has surfaced.
Oh,
Yeah.
the local.
Mhm.
Yeah, my understanding of it is the way that Sean is working this with the other businesses is it's basically a coupon. So for businesses that choose to participate, you can bring your Enosburg Bucks, your $10 coupon to, any business that's participating, and you can get, $10 off a purchase somewhere.
Mhm. Yeah, it's good.
My understanding in very simple terms is that that's how it works.
Similar to
Shop
the
local.
state program.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty neat. I saw it advertising online, shop local, advertise local. So it was pretty nice to see. I also saw new signs on the Harvest Market on Main Street. I think that's what it's called, next to the Enosburg House of Pizza. I was just curious if anybody knows if it's open yet. Okay.
Well, I don't believe it's open. I actually thought at one point last month that they had opened, and I tried several times to stop in, just to introduce myself and say hi to the owner and, sort of a meet and greet. But every time I stopped in, it was closed. So I had a conversation with Sean Kayo to see if he knew anything about it, or, were they just doing like really reduced hours or something, and I was hitting them at the wrong time, or were they just really not open yet and I was mistaken? And Sean told me he had kind of a similar experience. He had also tried to stop in several times. They were closed every time he attempted to, but he said he did by chance happen to run into the owner like on the sidewalk out front one time and had a short conversation with him. And the owner seemed to confirm that they're not really open yet. They're still, I guess, the whole situation with COVID-19, understandably so, kind of threw them, off from their business plan a bit. COVID-19 has also created, I guess, a lot of, well, not I guess, I mean, we've all read at least bits and pieces about how this pandemic has created problems with transportation and people's ability to get product, regardless of what you have, really. I mean, whether you're in a furniture business or grocery business or, medical supplies, you name it. There's a lot of products out there right now that COVID-19 has created interruptions and problems on, and I guess they're experiencing some of those things. They've been, I guess, some of the people they thought that they were going to be doing business with in terms of supplies for what they wanted to sell has not really materialized because of the COVID situation. So they're still trying to figure out how they're going to make that work. And that's what I thought I can tell you about that business.
That's too bad. I've heard lots of stuff about supply chains being quite the challenge.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, hopefully they can open up soon. Yeah. Anything else under other business? Okay. Next on the agenda is executive session. Is there a motion to go into executive?
I'll motion.
Okay, motion made by Jason.
I'll second that.
Seconded by Leonard. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, we just came back from executive and we're going to take a roll call. Cindy?
Here.
Leonard?
Here.
Jason?
Here.
Okay, and we'll go with everybody. John?
Yep, here.
Came back in. Matt?
Here.
Okay, no action was taken in executive, and I think that was my agenda's over there. That was the last item on the agenda. Do I hear a motion? What's
Yep.
John?
I was just going to say, so just motion to adjourn if folks are finished.
Yeah, so is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Okay,
I'll
motion made by
second
Jason,
that.
seconded by Leonard. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're all done.
All right.